In the name I am that I am, Sanat Kumara, I call forth the light of the living word, beloved Elohim, beloved archangels, beloved mighty Choans of the rays and the lords of karma. I call for the action of beloved Pallas Athena, beloved goddess of liberty, beloved Nada, beloved Kuan Yin, beloved Portia, beloved great divine director, beloved all-seeing eye of God, Cyclopeia. Let God's will be done, let God's will be done, let God's will be done. I demand the action of the sacred fire in this hour. Descend on mighty cosmos, secret rays. I am the holding of the balance of Lord Gautama Buddha, beloved Sanat Kumara and the seven holy Kumaras. I call upon the sacred fire, I call upon the light of God that never fails. Beloved mighty, I am present, come forth in this hour of the victory. Come forth in this hour of the victory of the God slain. I demand the full power of beloved mighty Athene with us this night. Beloved Jesus, send to me, Lord mighty, Gautama and Sanat Kumara. Come Lord now in the victory of the God slain. Send the light 10,000 suns. Beloved mighty Athene, mighty Athene, mighty Athene. Around this fortune now. I call upon the great single sun magnet. I call upon the light of God that never fails. Beloved Estelle, beloved Estelle, beloved Estelle. I call upon the electronic fire, the rings of the sun, the servant of God. I call upon the electronic fire rings. I call for the rings of the sun.
Greetings, salutations, and welcome to the newest edition of the Friday show. This is my new show on Fridays. This is Doors of Divination. Welcome to it. And for the next 2 hours, and for whoever knows how long I'll be doing this show, we're going to be exploring not just astrology. We're going to be exploring divination and the role that it plays in our lives on a conscious and on an unconscious level. So, one of the things that I wanted to do is I wanted to change things up a little bit. I've got a new scheduled commitment that I have to take care of on Wednesdays, which means that I'm no longer doing that show. So instead of just rolling the show to Friday, what I decided to do was to create a whole new show. And I'm still going to be doing some astrological readings, but I won't be doing as many of them in the past. I've been doing this show now for 2 years. It's 2 years since I've been doing this show. And I've done a lot of astrological readings for people. And I'll continue to do some live ones, but I'm going to be doing other things as well. I'll be bringing more tarot into the discussion. Some of you may know that I was a professional tarot reader. For a number of years, I had clients, just like I have astrological clients. I had tarot clients from all over the world. I read tarot all over the country. I was hired by the Whole Life Expo as sort of their de facto tarot reader to read for all their speakers and exhibitors at their private parties. I was hired by Macy's to read tarot. It was a really big part of my life, and I moved away from it when I got into the .com world, and that's because I had a quote unquote real job. But I'm not necessarily going back to being a tarot reader. This is not what this is about. This is more about integration and integrating part of my past so that I can share it with you and we can learn more about these systems of divination. Today I went on a walk. It's a beautiful day here on the coast. Well, it is on the coast. I live on the bay, but theoretically it is the coast. I can actually walk out my door, go up 2 hills, go down another hill, and there I am at the foot of the bay. What's interesting about this one particular spot, really unique spot, is that I could sit on a bench and I guess maybe about 30, 40 feet down from this bench is where the Pacific Ocean literally comes up and rests against the land. Because as I look straight ahead, what do I see? I see the Golden Gate. And I see this gateway towards this massive and expansive body of water. So the Pacific Ocean literally comes right to the edge of the bay where I'm sitting. So I guess I am sitting at the edge of the Pacific Ocean. And it's interesting because for me, the Golden Gate is they're like doors of divination in and of themselves. I mean, if you think about that, really. What's really interesting now, if you want to get into sort of the archeo symbology of this, is that if you get up on the hill of the Marin Headlands, which is sort of this hill that sort of juts out just on the other side of the Golden Gate Bridge. So as you cross the bridge, you get off the freeway and you go up the hill and you're in the Marin Headlands, which is a really powerful area. It's right there on the edge of the ocean. You get massive winds and fog, and there used to be an army installation there, and it's kind of creepy in some ways, but it's also kind of cool. And there's a big, massive tunnel, and this is all run by the National Park Service, and they have these cave concerts up in this tunnel, which I've gone to a number of times. But if you go up the hill and then you park at a certain angle, you can see where the two towers of the Golden Gate Bridge, it's a suspension bridge. So they have the suspension towers, right? There's three of them, and the cables go from one to the other, and that's what keeps the bridge up, right? So the final two, if you stand on the Marin Headlands and you look at the final two, I saw this one night on a clear night. Right in between these two towers is the Transamerica Pyramid. It's a really interesting shot, right? So here you have on one side one tower, on the other side you have the other tower. What do you have? You have Jachin and you have Boaz, right? These are the pillars, the twin pillars of Jachin and Boaz. And right in the center, you have not just the obelisk, but you have the obelisk and the pyramid all in one in the Transamerica Pyramid. Dead center. And you can't tell me that these guys, when they put the Transamerica Pyramid up, that they didn't take that into account. Trust me, they did. It is dead center of these two towers of the Golden Gate Bridge. So this is kind of what I'm talking about here. Divination and symbolism are linked together, hand in glove. When I stick my hand in a pack of tarot cards, right, and I shuffle them around and I pick out a card, what do I pick up today? Right now I just picked up change. Oh, this is perfect. 2 of discs. What are we doing? We're changing the show. We're changing the programming. We're changing the focus. And when I look at this, it is loaded with symbols. What do we have here? We've got the Ouroboros twisted into a figure 8. We've got yin, we've got yang, we've got Jupiter, we've got Capricorn. There's a story. There are muted colors in here, shades of gray, shades of green, shades of blue, a little bit of gold, right? So now we begin to infer meaning from these symbols. And through the inference of meaning and being able to string together the meaning as a narrative or a story, now we begin to see that there is a pattern that emerges through this causal reality that we're all more or less consensually experiencing. Now, here's the kicker. These are just symbols. That's all they are. That's all they are. They only exist in as much as we give them power. Okay? That's it. I see North Runner. You're on there. I see you. I'm going to be talking for a while. Okay? So you're welcome to hold, but I probably won't stop talking for about another 20 minutes. Okay? So just an FYI. These are just symbols. That's all they are. And they only exist if we give them power. That's one level of interpretation, right? There's another level of interpretation that if we do give them power, theoretically, then what can we learn from them? Because I hate to break the news to you, but we live in a symbolic universe. And the symbolic universe is used on many different levels. It's used to cage us, entrap us, jail us through a repetitive induction so that we live in a trance, trapped by symbols all around us, living in a trance. This is Jordan Maxwell 101, Michael Sarian 101. I mean, there's a whole, and there's truth to this, that we're swimming in an ocean of symbolism that grabs our attention all the time, right? And the symbols are changing. The symbols are manipulated at the same time. They're being manipulated. They're changing. They're manipulating our attention. That's what's happening. Last night, somebody sent me a video. I'm not sure how old it is. I think it's fairly new. It's with Kanye, Jay-Z, and is it Sierra? I don't think it's Rihanna. It might be Sierra. It's called Monsters. I don't know if any of you have seen this video. It's horrific. It's one of the most horrific videos I've seen. And basically Kanye West is telling everybody he's a monster. He's a monster. He's a pharaoh. He's a monster. And the prevailing imagery of this video is corpses. And they're almost all Caucasian women. There's this one scene where Kanye West is in bed with two women. They look like they're dead. And so where does the mind go? It goes to zombies. It goes to necrophilia. It goes to places that are pretty dark, right? Now, this is symbolism, by the way, that your kids are getting, your teenagers, the youth. This is directly pointed at youth culture, and this is what they are being indoctrinated to, right? They're being indoctrinated into this death culture, this death spiral. Now, if you're a parent, you better wise up. Maybe it's too late. I don't know. But if you're a parent, you better just get your kid off of mainstream media and get it off like yesterday. I'm a parent. I've done my best to do that with my kid. I don't have, I don't have cable TV at my house anymore. So he doesn't watch cable TV with me. We have Netflix, so at least I can control some of the programming with Netflix. So what are we doing? We're here to take back the power of the symbolism. That's what we're here to do. That's what I'm doing, at least. I don't know about you, but that's what I'm doing. This morning I was walking on my walk, and I was headed down towards the ocean. I was headed down towards the gateway to the Pacific, the gateway to the unconscious, the gateway to the ocean of spirit. And I thought to myself, I thought about my life, and I thought about who I am and where I came from, right? I've stopped drinking alcohol. I stopped 6 months ago, almost 7 months ago. It was in July of last year. And this wave of clarity has really come over me, which is really interesting, which I like too, by the way. It's really been quite helpful. And I asked myself, so what's really going on here? Where do you come from? How would you describe your path? And I would liken my path to, okay, let me back this up. First of all, I thought about programming in general. I thought about my life, and I thought about growing up in the 60s, and I thought about growing up in the 70s, where I was, when you're a kid and you get these hormones rushing through you, right? The hormone rush is a big deal, and this is and they have figured out, they being Tavistock, Madison Avenue, you name it, they have figured out that the best time, really, getting to kids at an early age is really probably the best time. But if you really want to hack somebody's program, it is in adolescence, right? Because the system is in chaos on some level. It's a system in transition, going from one level of organic being to another, adolescence. And so what happens during adolescence is there's a massive amount of programming that takes place, massive. And I look back at my life during the 60s and the 70s, and I grew up in the Bay Area in the 1960s. I was born in 1960. I was living within a stone's throw of San Francisco during the Summer of Love. My father would every now and then would take me to San Francisco because there was part of the whole San Francisco scene that my father was intrigued by. So we would go up there and we'd cruise around a little bit, and he would see like a woman in a poncho on a street corner selling the Berkeley Barb, and he'd buy a copy and he'd take it home and he'd look into this subculture, right? This is where I lived. I was just a stone's throw away from ground zero of the 60s. It emanated through me like a wave. And there are parts of it that I liked. I liked a lot of the music. There are parts of it I didn't like as a kid. I didn't like hippies. I didn't trust hippies. On some level, I didn't trust them. It was a very interesting experience for me, to be honest with you. Anyway, as I grew up, though, I became more and more, entrenched in the media, in television, in radio, in music. And of course, the programming at that time was all about self-expression and experience yourself and find yourself. And I was part of that wave. And man, I ran with it. I mean, you look at my chart, I've got Uranus and Pluto in the 9th house. I'm about expanding my consciousness. And that's really, or having an experience of an expanded consciousness. Consciousness is, you can't expand consciousness. You can expand your relationship to it or your awareness around it, but you can't expand consciousness. I've always felt that was a very funny statement that people would say, oh, expand your consciousness. No, a consciousness is. It is. You just expand your relationship to it. Anyway, but I went through it, man. I mean, I had a Charlie Sheen moment in the 1970s and the 1960s, actually the 70s and the 80s, mostly the 70s. I mean, I went for it. And I bought it, hook, line, and sinker, rock and roll, rebellion. I must have taken LSD 50 times before the time I reached the age of 20, maybe more. Who knows? A lot. I was into it in a big way. The psychedelic realm, the psychedelic experience as a teenager was vital to me. I studied Timothy Leary and Jimi Hendrix. I mean, it was my world. I was desperate to find an imminent domain, not imminent domain, but imminent. IMANENT, imminent domain was my quest. Throw a little bit of punk rock on there, on the top, a punk rock topper, and some situationism, and that was my world. And then it spread out into many different areas. It spread out into things like alcohol, and it just I absorbed the American rebellious Luciferian experience. I absorbed it in its totality. And now I'm coming out the other end. And what's really interesting about it is that here's my piece. On some level, I would not trade in anything. I wouldn't trade anything in about what I did with my life, because it's brought me here to this moment to talk to you about it in a way that hopefully is informative, that we can all expand upon and explore, because I've had some really mystical, powerful, mind-blowing experiences that maybe or maybe not I would have experienced without that. I'm not sure, but I did. And I've had some very dark experiences too. I've run the gamut between light and dark. I've tasted my shadow. Trust me. But I'm coming out the other side of this, and I'm coming out of the other side in an interesting way. And I thought about, like, insiders, right? And what happens to insiders, like when somebody leaves Scientology or when somebody leaves something that was important to their lives. Well, what do they do with it? I'm sure that they got something meaningful out of that experience at some point. How do they integrate it? Well, for me, the whole thing about integrating my experience, what I am attempting to do here is to reclaim these symbols, to reclaim this magic in a way that is much more what I would call, quote unquote, for lack of a better term, creator-centered or creation-centered or Gnostically centered. So we're taking back the power. We're taking back the power of these symbols. We are now going to own them. We're now going to redefine them. This is what I'm into exploring, not only in this show, but in our work, because the symbols are constantly being used against us, theoretically, right? So this is what I'm into right now. I am into the reformation and the reclamation of symbolic interpretation, expression, and manifestation. And that is what we're going to explore on this show. And it may involve some astrological readings, some live readings. That's fine. Tarot, we're going to get into tarot. And I'm going to bring other people on. It kind of went off, a light went off in my head when I had John Friedlander on the show last week. And there was a lot of interest in John. And I'd like to have more people like John on the show so that we can explore this topic together on Fridays. So here's how it's going to go. Doors of Divination on Friday. Sunday night is going to be the interview show. So basically the Friday show gets slotted down into Sunday night, 2 hours of interviews, just like I always do with folks on Fridays, or I try to do most of the time. And then Monday it will be the mashup, just like it ever was, right? So we're just moving things around. We're moving the deck chairs around a little bit. It's 10:20 in the morning. One of the things I did today, if you go on to the show page, is I posted the actual chart for today, the astrological chart for today, and it's a mind-blowing chart. If you really take a peek at it, you can go there now to the show page. Let me see if I can find this chart here. I just had it up on my site. Let's see, what do we got here? If you look at that chart, it is it's a pretty mind-blowing. It's a Star of David. We got a Star of David in the sky today, and this is, I think there's 2 of them this month. Let me just pull this up here. That's not it. There are 2 Stars of Davids this month. There's one later in the month as well. Okay, I pulled it up, and if you look at this chart, here's what we have going on today. There are 2 grand trines happening. Okay, moon, fresh moon in Cancer. It's at I think right now it's at 1 or 2 degrees, and then it's trining. What do we got here? It is trining Neptune in Pisces, and because Saturn is, it's weird. Saturn is an interesting player in the skies today. Saturn's at the very end of Libra, so because by degree it's in this grand trine, because theoretically it's almost like a 1 degree Scorpio because it's at the end of Libra, so it's participating. It is begrudgingly participating, but it's participating. It's also begrudgingly participating in a cardinal cross. Begrudgingly, Saturn is an interesting player by degree today. Okay, so we've got this grand trine. Think of it as 2/3 water, Neptune, Moon, end of degree, Libra, Saturn, and then we have a grand Earth trine, which is a legit grand Earth trine, by the way. Jupiter, Mars, Pluto, all fairly tight. Mars is moving backwards in Virgo, and it's going to get even closer to this really, really tight grand trine in Earth. So we have a major grand Earth trine, what I would call a minor grand water trine, and then we've got, this wicked T-square going on with kind of a tail with Saturn again. So the T-square is Uranus and Mercury, and they're conjunct, very tight conjunction right now. Mercury just went into Aries, and then we have Moon in Cancer, and then Pluto in Capricorn. So we've got this T-square cardinal elements. There's a lot of tension with that T-square, and then you throw in this little tail with Saturn and Libra, again, kind of the X factor. Saturn and Libra is the X factor. That's what I'm going to call it. And then Saturn itself is involved in a yod, a big fat yod with Jupiter and Venus opposing Saturn. So Saturn is a very, very key player. We also have, in that T-square, there's a Moon-Pluto opposition going on. There's a lot of energy today. So what do we have here? We've got a Star of David, imagined star in the sky. And we also have, it's a fairly complex geometrical assimilation of planets. So how does this work, right? On one level, there's an extreme amount of power, theoretically, if we're going to invest interest in symbols. Okay? If we're going to invest interest in symbols, there is an extreme amount of power that is available today. Because if you're not investing power in symbols, trust me, there are people that are. And they use symbols, and they use astro for lack of a better term, astrotheology. And I'm not using it in the same sense that, say, Archira S. or Michael Sarion would use. I'm using it in a different sense. But pushing astrotheology to advance events and advance collective ritualization of behavior and modification of will. This happens. And a lot of times it happens vis-a-vis astrology. Today is the day, by the way, that Cliff High said that we would have a major catastrophe. This would be 26 days. You've got 26 days left. Today is that day, the end of the 26th day. Now, what has happened over the past 48 hours? Some interesting things have happened. Andrew Breitbart is dead, 43 years old. He's dead. Gone. Heart attack. Of course, people are saying, well, maybe he was offed. He might have been. He seems to have come across some college tapes of Barack Obama that are none too flattering. Frankly, I think it's interesting. One of the things that would happen is that it would vet that Obama may have even gone to college. I'm not sure he's even gone to college, to be honest with you. I mean, how many people do you know running around can say that they were buddies with Barack Obama in college? Not too many. My college friends, I knew Barack. Nobody knows Barack Obama in college. Nobody. So anyway, he's got some college. Theoretically, he's got some college. He's dead. Another thing that happened, I think this is what's really interesting, is there was a pipeline that blew up in Saudi Arabia, eastern Saudi Arabia, yesterday on the 1st. Not good. Not good. Now, there's a lot of, so if a pipeline blows up in Saudi Arabia, what happens? Well, I'll tell you what happens. The price of oil goes through the freaking roof. That's what happens. And what is a prevalent planet right now? Well, obviously it's Neptune in Pisces, but also Chiron in Pisces. And today we've got Sun, Chiron, Neptune in Pisces. They're all conjunct. Sun is opposed Mars, by the way, in today's chart. So there's a sense of violence in today's chart as well. Battle of wills. So we've got this pipeline that blew up in eastern Saudi Arabia. Now they're saying that it is the Saudi Arabian revolution, right? I don't know. Here's the deal, right? These revolutions, the green revolution, the rose revolution, the white revolution, the fuchsia revolution, it's like, Arab Spring, winter, American fall. Not everybody, a lot of people believe that these revolutions are real. And there may be some, friction that makes them real. Most of these revolutions are premeditated. They're staged. I'm sorry, they're staged. And I've done too much work behind a lot of this and understand how these things go down. And so when they say that this is the Saudi Arabian revolution, I don't know. I reserve the right to withhold judgment around it. It could be the Mossad. Who knows who it is that blew up that pipeline or why? But the bottom line is that it's blown up. At least that's what we're getting. And what's going to happen now is that the price of oil is going to go even higher. And how's that going to impact you? Well, it's going to impact you because you have to pay more for your groceries, you have to pay more for your gas. It's putting the squeeze on you. Symbolically, again, this would be a Chiron and Neptune event. This could theoretically also be the Sun opposing Mars event, but it's a pretty significant event. It may have gone underneath your radar. There is a rumor that Lord Blackheath is dead. This is a typical Piscean kind of thing. I can't find anything on the internet that says he is dead. If you don't know who Lord Blackheath is, he is part of the House of Commons, and he's come out over the past couple of years with some pretty remarkable information around money and money laundering and the Bank of Hong Kong in Scotland, and to the tune of $15 trillion with the Federal Reserve and Goldman Sachs, and it's a big deal. Really big deal. And he also came up with this thing called Foundation X. Foundation X theoretically could help people out. They're willing to step forward with huge amounts of gold. He's an interesting character. But no, who is this guy, Lord Blackheath? And there's an internet rumor that he's dead. I can't confirm it, but it's out there. So that's a very Piscean sort of thing to experience on the 2nd of March. So we've got this Star of David in the sky. And what does it mean to you? What does it mean to your life? It's a really good question. Well, as an astrologer, I would say that today is a profound opening. A really profound opening. That you have the opportunity to walk out your front door or sit down in your chair. You can do this every single day, obviously. But you have a profound opportunity to take this awareness into your life and say, where do I want to push this? Where do I want to put my energy? Obviously, we're talking earth, water, so emotion. And for me, earth is about continuity. The earth tells a really long story. Right? It's where we live. You go into rocks, you can read the history of the earth through rocks, sedimentary levels, carbon data, all that stuff. So earth is about consistency and continuity. It's about legacy. Fire burns. Air is ephemeral. Earth is here. So it's about your legacy. It's about, when I say your legacy is connected to the planet's legacy. What are you going to do today towards your legacy's end? Who are you? What do you want to be known for? Why are you here? These are all big questions when you've got an earth trine. And you can actually make inroads. You see, there are days when inquiry is harder than others. But there are days when the inquiry can be incredibly profound and proactive. Today is one of those days. You want to take advantage of this day. You want to get engaged in an inner dialogue with yourself. Who am I? Why am I here? What do I want to be known for? Does it even matter? Today is a day when you have a free space and you can look at your life and you can make changes to your life today. You can make changes to your life any day, theoretically, but today is interesting, very interesting because of what is happening with this, very powerful imagined star that's up there in the sky on your screen 2-dimensionally. Today's a good day to initiate projects. Even though Mars is retrograde, it's a good day to initiate projects in your life. Start something new. Working out, diet. Maybe it's an idea that you want to roll with. It can be life-changing. Don't underestimate that. And on an emotional level with the Grand Trine, certainly with Moon trining Neptune, a little Saturn thrown into the mix, you can express yourself. You can share your emotions with people. I just shared my emotions with you. I shared my past with you. You can do that with people today. Do it with yourself. Cancer is a very sentimental sign. Cancer looks backwards in a lot of ways. Cancer is nostalgic. Like, the United States is a Cancerian country. July 4th. And one of the things that we do in this country is that we look backwards. We look back at how things were. We look back in the 50s. We look back in the 20s. We look back in the 30s. It's part of the DNA. We also are very forward-looking as well. I think the United States has a moon in Aquarius, so we're very forward-looking. So the country is a unique blend of forward-thinking and nostalgic reflection. But you can look back in your life today with this Grand Trine without a lot of incrimination. Now, you can also be very matter-of-fact with it. So you can look back both lovingly and realistically because of this T-square. And T-squares are not bad. They are not bad. What T-squares are friction. and they move towards change. So when you've got Moon squaring Uranus, Mercury squaring Moon, you're like, I've got to make some changes emotionally. You can do it quickly. And you're supported with Moon trining Neptune. Why? Because there's forgiveness there. There's compassion there. You forgive yourself. It's like, you know what? I was just a kid growing up. I didn't know any better. Or when I was a girl, I didn't know any better. I grew up in a screwed up household, and my father left, and blah 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 blah. Whatever that story is, you can forgive that, and you can move on, because it was just the way it was. You were caught in the wash and the churn of forces that you couldn't really understand at the time, and quite frankly, people around you couldn't understand it either. So you really can't blame them. And if they did understand it and they didn't share that with you, well, that's a whole other story. But look, most people have not been sophisticated enough to understand what's going on this planet. It's taken us this long to get to this place where we can rub our eyes and ask ourselves collectively, what the fuck is going on here? And I'm not talking about the 60s. I'm not talking. There was an element of that to the 60s. But in a lot of ways, it was really it was reactive and reactionary. And after the 60s, which was this in a lot of ways socially engineered tumult and cacophony, there was this rush to be successful and to get mine. And you can see that in people like Jerry Rubin and Bill Clinton and a lot of the baby boomers. But after that, people kind of have gone into a slumber, a chrysalis, a cocoon. And especially when Reagan came along and people began to make money. And then Clinton came along and it flooded the markets with cheap money and anesthetized people. In between, we had an opportunity, by the way, with Bush to wake up. That was a clear opportunity. When he said those words, New World Order, that should have been like an alarm clock for everybody. Ding, 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 ding. Wake up. Ding, ding, ding. Time to wake up. It was for me. Now, I haven't been the same since then, for good or bad. So that was a time where we theoretically could have waken up. And then all of a sudden, this great soporific known as William Jefferson Clinton came along. Cheap money, feel good, sax playing, bedroom-eyed president, William Jefferson Clinton. I did not have sex with that woman. My grandmother, bless her heart, she loved Bill Clinton. Oh my God. She loved him. I remember I was living with my grandmother while I was working at eMusic. It was a really strange time in my life. Because I had this .com job. I had no place to live. And at that time, the .com world was just going off the freaking hook. I mean, you had all these companies with really dubious kind of, platforms and business models. They're just sprouting up like mushrooms. And it was like the gold rush, man. I mean, everybody and their brother and their sister just came to California to get a .com job. And companies were hiring. They didn't, it's like, you worked on the school newspaper. Oh, yeah. Come on, we'll hire you. Or if you had a friend, you got hired. That's not the case now. You want to get a job at a .com company in Silicon Valley, you better have an Ivy League degree. Google will not even talk to you unless you have an Ivy League degree. But back in 1999, 1998, it was very different times. So I got on the gravy train and I started living. I had no place to live, and not only that, it was so expensive. I mean, rents were through. You wouldn't believe what I was looking at and the prices people were charging. It was usury. I had nowhere to go, so I moved in with my grandmother. And this was a household that I spent a part of my youth in, going to 3 years of grammar school. And my grandfather had passed away, so it was me, my grandmother, and my Uncle Ralph, a.k.a. Uncle Ernie. And we're here at this house, three of us. And I'm staying in the guest room. And my grandmother would come down at night, and she would talk to me. And she talked to me about Bill Clinton, how much she loved him. I think I'd had a bottle of wine or something one night. I'm sitting there and I'm laying down talking to her, and I was just like, I couldn't believe how much she loved this guy. And I asked her, I said, so would you have sex with Bill Clinton? I asked my grandmother if she would have sex with Bill Clinton. She said yes, that she would have sex with Bill Clinton. I think she was 71 or 72 at the time. Anyway, bless her heart. She's no longer here, but she saw the fact that she thought that I'd be good in radio, and she thought I'd be good at astrology. So my grandmother was ahead of her time. Taurus, by the way. May 15th. Anyway, here's the deal, folks. You got about 24 hours to really work this magic and work it in a good way. Okay, let's just buy into this for a moment. Okay, let's buy into the fact that there is a creative force moving through each and every one of you like a river of life, and you're taking back the power of the symbolism. You're going, okay, today I can make a change in my life. Got a Star David in the sky. Earth, legacy. Who are you? Where do you want to go? What do you want to do? What do you want to be known for? Does it even matter? These are the questions today. And what can you do to put a foot forward in order to do that? There's also a great deal of generosity in this Star of David too. Jupiter in Taurus is generous. It's abundant. It's trining Pluto. You know, generosity and abundance are powerful. They're powerful tools. You know, generosity and abundance, you know, stewarded in the right direction can build relationships and buttress lives. And abundance and generosity does not always equate with money, although it can. So that's another layer of this grand trine you can take advantage of. Pluto's trining Mars right now. Tenacity, endurance. Jupiter's trining Mars. Again, more abundance, aggressively abundant. Be abundant with yourself. Mars is in Virgo. It's in retrograde. Look at your life. What can you give your life that you haven't given? It doesn't have to be extravagant. Oh, I got to give myself a Lamborghini Miura in 3 weeks on the Riviera. In fact, can I ship the Lamborghini Miura over to the south of France so I can tool it around the south of France? That's not really what we're talking about here. Sometimes giving yourself something can be really fundamental. Like, you know what? I got to give myself the opportunity to make more money. And therefore, I've got to take on a part-time job, or I've got to do something different in my life that allows me to have more in a very fundamental way, because Mars in Virgo is fundamental, especially retrograde. You're looking at your life saying, what can I do? How can I redress the physical and the biological conditions of my life? So Jupiter is really supporting that. Contrary to Cliff's doomsday prophesying, I believe today is a very profound day. It's an extremely profound day. So one of the things you can do is give thanks. That's a big Earth trine moment, is to give thanks. Start there, give thanks. Okay, I've just talked nonstop for 45 minutes. What I'm going to do is I'm going to play a little bit of music. I'm going to jump into the chat room, hang out there for a little bit. And when I come back, I'll start taking some calls, and we can play with some divination. We can look at some astrology. We can look at some tarot. We'll just see where we can take this experience. We can cruise this ship of state. All right. So what do I want to do? What do I want to play? Let's see. Why don't I go with how about a little Michael Lee Hill? Testing 1, 2, 3. I'm going to play this really smoking guitar track from Michael Lee Hill, and then 3 minutes, I'll be back, and I will take live calls, and let's mix it up a little bit. Let's do a little astrology, let's do a little tarot, let's do a little symbolism, and then we'll cruise through the last hour of the show. This is Robert Phoenix. You're listening to the opening episode, the genesis of Doors of Divination, and I'll be back in 3 minutes and 6 seconds. Man, is that smoking or what? Michael Lee Hill, testing 1, 2, 3. You know, Michael was on my show about a year ago, and he revealed to people on my show that he is the illegitimate son of Eric Clapton. And after hearing him play, I really can't say that that would be undeniable. The dude can rip it up on guitar. Okay, so I was just on the chat room. Oh, first of all, this is Robert Phoenix. You're listening to the inaugural show of Doors of Divination, the Genesis. So I was in the chat room, and I saw that our good friend Gloria Savage was hanging out in there, and I just thought, you know, she'd be a really great person to have come on the show today. So I invited her on the show, and I've known Gloria for about 4 years now, and I think it's 4 years, yeah. And we've gotten to know each other pretty well, and she's extremely talented. She's a seer, number one. Number two, she's also a gifted singer. And number three, she's a wonderful herbalist and, an aromatherapist as well. So she is a Renaissance woman. Let's bring her on. Here's our good friend, Gloria Savage. Hey, Gloria.
Hey, Robert. How are you? Gosh, I'm going to cry.
Oh, all right.
That was how lovely. And happy inauguration, man.
Thank you. I'll give you a virtual Kleenex.
Yeah, right. Okay, I'm going to need it. Awesome. That was so cool.
Yeah, you're welcome. How are you?
I'm doing actually. I'm rocking today. It's awesome. It's an awesome day. Awesome. How about you?
Good. You know, I had a dream last night that somebody had given me close to $4,000.
Oh.
And it was like 3,520 something. It was really an interesting number. And I went on a walk this morning, and I remembered it during my walk, and I was like, oh, that was a cool dream.
How much was it?
Like 3,500. It wasn't quite $4,000. It's 3,500 something.
35 something, 8. Mm-hmm.
It was interesting. So, you know, that's not going to determine how I feel, but it was an interesting dream. And I went on a great walk. I get up in the morning before the chemtrails start getting sprayed. So, and I can actually have a remotely normal experience with nature. But I'm feeling this energy today. It's great energy. We got the Star of David in the sky, and a lot of other stuff going on. So what's happening with you?
Just finished working on some clients, making orders, looking at the charts. Then I thought, I have just enough time to hang in to hear Robert Phoenix, check into the chat room, all the good energy on there. Good, you got some. I love the people in there.
It's a great chat room.
People you've gathered around you.
I'm telling you, I have the best chat room. They're all super cool, super intelligent, really, you know, nice to each other, and yeah, I'm thrilled that they congregate in there and support the show. It's a nice little community.
Mm-hmm. Well, it should be interesting with that Mercury conjunct Uranus and all that fabulous astrological soup going on with Neptune and that whole Piscean thing, which I'm highly familiar with, having so many planets in the 12th house.
Yeah.
And,
I did a reading a couple days ago for somebody that has 5 planets in the 12th house.
Which one?
Let's see. Sun and Pluto conjunct at 20. Yeah, Sun and Pluto conjunct at 29 degrees.
Ooh. Well, they have to finish something.
Yeah, very intense.
Major.
Yeah. I take that back. No, my bad. Mercury and Pluto conjunct 29 degrees. Sun and Uranus were exactly conjunct at the end of the 11th, going into the 12th.
I think that person died of a car accident last time.
Really?
Mm-hmm. And I was going to ask you about a Patrick.
Patrick, interesting. Okay, go. So what's that?
When you talked about the money.
Yeah.
I feel like there's somebody with the name of Patrick around you that can. There's something about that for you, with something with Patrick and a connection to that money. And then I'm getting the color of red. Before, when I saw your car, it was silver, but I see this red, shiny, something shiny that's red.
Uh-huh.
I don't know if it's the car. I still think there will be somebody that will have their mother that has a car that will be for you.
Okay. All right. All right. So the red car. Let's talk a little bit about you. You know, people ask me, I get a lot of feedback about you, by the way, in a good way.
Oh, really? Because I have that Sagittarius on my 3rd house, and I have to really rein myself in from saying so many things that are in my head. You know, it's just rocking in there.
Yeah, well, I think if you just get it out and then use a nice filter afterwards.
Yeah.
You know, like panning for gold, right?
Right.
You stick your pan in the river, and you just let it flow through, and then you flush out the sediment.
Yeah, that's a great analogy. I can do that when, in the book when I'm writing, because I can go back over it.
Yeah.
And rewrite. Or when I'm teaching, I always have my syllabus to kind of couch myself inside, and then it goes off wherever. Everybody always says, "Oh, I saw you channeling." And I'm kind of funny about that, because for me, what I'm doing is, I think I told you a couple years ago, I was teaching, And the next thing, and I was talking about the oils, and I started talking about the plants, waiting for the sun to come up, and you know, they were all standing there, just they all start getting all perky. And plants, once that beautiful sun is coming up, they all, he's here, you know, and then they follow the sun all day long.
Right.
You know, craning and stretching and blooming and opening, and that's the thing for me. Part of what the magic of aromatherapy is that it's taking that essence, and that literally is what they are, essential oils, and it you distill that light that they've stretched themselves to praise.
Right.
All day, every day of their lives.
Right.
And so when that's why I think it's one of the, you know, 7 sacraments, and it's in every, you name the spirituality, it's in there. Mm-hmm. Because there's nothing like it other than prayer, of course, but when you use that and you anoint and you mindfully put that on the body, you are accessing the light code in the body because of the light within the oil, that precious oil. It's going, here we are. I'm sorry, I just went off on that. But
no, that's okay. It's okay. I was, as you were going through that, I was like, yeah, you know, I mean, you know, people talk about this in terms of like viticulture and wine production.
Right.
It's like you know, what was the soil like during that time? You know, what was the season like during that time?
Yeah.
You know, all of that is encoded in the history of that grape and the distillation of that grape.
Right.
And it's like, to your point, the same thing is taking place with essential oils, but at a much more concentrated level.
Oh, yes. So I'm telling that story one day, and I go into all of that, by the way, when I'm teaching a class. I talk about the earth and the minerals and the same with the gemstones. They all have this relativity to them. That's a correlation within our own body, and then has an affinity vibrationally. So, okay, so I'm standing there, and this stuff just starts coming out, and I'm like, I'm kind of even shocking myself, to be honest with you, you know, because it just starts getting me going like a rocket. And so it's all coming out. I'm telling this. Next thing I know, I have all these people coming in and coming around me. And so that morning, I happened to be staying with the husband of my best friend that passed away a couple of years back, who was she's very well known, amazing herbalist, and I used to call her Esmeralda. So I'm in the shower and I'm getting ready, and the song "Just Walk Away, Renee" starts rolling through I'm singing it in the shower, and he comes out and he's got tears in his eyes, and I'm like, I'm sorry, you know, and he says, do you know that that's my favorite song? I said, no.
Uh-huh.
Well, then I said, do you know her, Renee? And okay, so all that's going on, I said, I think you're going to meet a Renee. And he had spent a year not, like, all crying and not, you know, he's just, you know, completely despondent after losing my friend, who's she's a rockin' woman, man.
So he was in grief. He was in grief.
Yeah, and, you know, but that song sort of brought this out. So then I go to my car, and I'm putting things in, and I thought, why did you have me sing that song this morning?
Uh-huh.
I turn on the radio, and it's Lou Reed, Take a Walk on the Wild Side. Well, that was the song that I have a relationship with that friend. We'd get in her, she had a Jaguar, and she'd put, you know, so we're riding around the Jaguar, and with Lou Reed, Take a Walk on the, it was awesome, you know. She was just a really cool woman.
Uh-huh.
So I'm thinking, so here's that. And so then I start crying because I just have to thank these angels who give me so much guidance with my fingers in that soup of that 12th house.
Yeah.
I go, and then that happens. Well, so where I'm going to is that day, when I start doing this, I saw me, only like a big me. And it was through this dimensional doorway where these streams of information from me were coming through and being guided. And I could see that I was this little person in the earth plane channeling me. And for me, that is what I think we are all doing.
Interesting.
So in this process, opening that up for me happens through compassion.
Mm-hmm.
And care. I mean, I'll cry just thinking about it because it gets so real. And that fire, like your tears, to me are living. That is literally the living waters of life. So even when we cry, especially for the female, I know men can, but not as much. I don't think they guard that so much. But when I'm wailing, crying, that sound sonically bursts open the atmosphere and calls in angels. And it is healing. Without our awareness, we do all these things. So that living water pours down into the heart and starts the flaming heart of fire. That is the doorway between worlds. It's where the cross meets north, south, east, west. It's where communion is. It's why they show that flaming heart. And it is the center of the vortex between the lower realm and the outer realm. It's Saturn and Venus there. And that then goes on to Uranus, Neptune, Pluto, so forth. Okay, so that's, sorry, just went all into that.
That's okay. I was just letting your 12th house just have its expressive moment on the show. That was good.
Yeah.
That was good. I realized, Gloria, that you were the first person to come to me through my website for a reading. And you were the first person on this new show today.
Oh, my gosh.
Kind of interesting, huh?
Yeah, that is. Yeah, I know. I was kind of hard on you at first.
That's okay. I was working it out, and I came back strong, didn't I?
You were awesome. Yeah, I thought I was completely amazed. I thought you did obviously, because I'm still here,
Yeah.
I was, because I've had, obviously, like many of us, you get readings, you know a lot of people. I know some great readers and astrologers, and I put you right up there. You really can tap into some things and say some things that that'll give me a buzz, and I go, wow, he's grabbed a vein there. That's awesome. Well, then the way you have, Robert, the way you have a turn with words, I feel like I am talking or reading Hemingway, and I have a deep, as you know, a deep appreciation for language. And when you write, it is as no other can write. And you take all of us on a journey that opens up into a new place. And it's not a place that any of us thought we were going half the time. So it's a lovely, it's a lovely journey every time I read whatever you write.
Well, thank you, Gloria. I appreciate that. And I had this experience one time with Hemingway. I studied Hemingway in college.
Huh.
And I had this. I don't know if I ever told you this story. I have told it on the show before. I had this 5-unit course in Hemingway. So I was living, breathing, eating, sleeping Hemingway.
Oh, wow.
For a whole semester with one of the leading Hemingway scholars in the world at that time.
Oh, my God, I wonder.
Yeah, Robin Gadget's like, now check this out. Okay, check this out. So I was having a lot of really kind of profound, like metaphysical stuff happen to me. It was a phase of my life where I was being initiated on subtle planes.
Right.
And I'm sleeping in my bed, and I have this dream. It was this weird simultaneous, like, dream event where I'm dreaming about Hemingway, and all of a sudden it feels like he's in my room,
Wow.
and he clubs me on the head, and hard. And I actually, Gloria, I cowered under my covers because of the violence of this moment, right? And then I saw these two lions right after that happened in my dream.
Uh-huh.
And I woke up really quickly, and I thought, what the hell just happened? I just thought to myself, Hemingway was just in my room. Now, dig this.
Yeah,
So,
he totally was there.
So shortly thereafter, I started to have out-of-body experiences.
Huh.
So then, as I began to study more about Hemingway, I read that when he was in, it was the Spanish Civil War, and he was actually part of the Red Cross there, and that's where he got his taste of war. Anyway, he saved this guy's life, but he also got wounded as a result of this, and he had a near-death experience and left his body. And that experience freaked Hemingway out. And he drank and was an insomniac because of that experience. You know, if you read about Hemingway, his typical day was, you know, he would stay up until about 4 to 5 in the morning, 6 in the morning actually, and he would write all night because he was afraid of sleeping. And then he'd make breakfast for his kids, and he'd get his kids off to school, and then he'd sleep for a few hours. And then he would start this whole thing over again. But he was terrified of going to sleep because he'd had this out-of-body experience. And I found that out afterwards. I didn't know that beforehand.
Well, geez, okay, so I have a few things running through my mind. I don't think you're old enough, or young enough, I should say, to beat Hemingway.
No.
But I believe that you do channel him. All right. So, and I didn't think about that when I thought about reading, you know, that it popped into my head how, like, I feel like I'm friends with Hemingway, and how cool is that? So, well, here's what I do think. I do believe that he came into your room and conked you on the head. I do believe then that there is something you channel from him, and that you were a friend of, and people think that you can't reincarnate that quick. Well, I don't think that's true at all. I think you can, everything is relative, and especially now when things are so speeded up as we're at the end of this cycle. So I believe that you channel him, and that you were a drinking buddy of his.
Uh-huh.
And that you have access to that near-death experience that he had, that maybe you were around him or with him. And also that now that you stopped drinking,
yeah,
you're doing what he did not do for himself.
Interesting.
And the clarity that's going to come through now is going to take you to a place that he himself denied himself from his own, his own problem he had with it.
Interesting.
So you're that extension, in part of where he could have gone. You can go,
mm-hmm.
and you're tapping into that, his near death that he drank through instead of. Because it does make you very sensitive, and it does, for me, I know it made it very hard to see people be cruel to each other here.
Yeah.
And you can't explain it, and then you have to go through that whole journey that is somewhat what you were talking about, I believe, in your last blog. That journey between to rectify within yourself what we're dealing with, to navigate going down the rabbit hole, and then making peace with it. To know something and then to become peaceful about what you know again.
Yeah, well, the rabbit hole that I was referring to was a personal rabbit hole, but it was also the collective rabbit hole, right? Like you go down there, then you see the butchery, the cruelty, the macabre ritualization, and the cult of death, and it's shocking. And most people can't handle it. Like when Jack Nicholson says, "You want the truth, you can't handle the truth."
Right.
Most people can't. I mean, you get down there that deep, and you see the likes of your buddy Clive Davis hanging out down there, and what's taking place on that realm.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, you wanted the truth. Here you go.
Right.
You know, and ultimately, it's not the ultimate truth.
No.
Right. But
it's just a layer of it.
It's the truth of this world.
It's a layer of truth in this world.
Yeah.
And there is, I believe, it's of what is called unnecessary evil. It tempers us. Without that, we don't have a way to forge our spirit, to forge the vessel, and have the option. You know, we have free will.
Yeah.
So once you go down, I know it had me, when I first dreamt the Twin Tower thing, and I was losing my mind, writing to the Washington Post, writing to everybody, writing to George Bush, trying to stop the war, trying to, please don't invade Iraq, please, we're going to have that Hurricane Katrina's going to hit us, we won't have enough finances to handle all. I was losing my mind with all that, and then, of course, I just started seeing more and more and more, and you have to do that dance with. Once you see that, well, then you can see the dire consequences that could be very quickly upon you, and they exist, and then you have to navigate through all of that, and it's only been the past probably year that I finally myself have finally made some peace with how crazy everything is, and wanting to stop it, wanting to fix it, and wanting to, wake people up to see this madness that's upon us. But ultimately, it's just forged me, and I have seen things that are comforting to me. Mm-hmm. Beyond and within all of it comes this magnificence and this luminescence, and an awareness that is, you go, oh, okay, all right then, Atlas Shrugged sort of thing.
Right. So when is your book coming out?
Well, I'd like to have it rough draft ready by when Saturn goes direct and comes into my first house this year, because obviously it's been having fun with me, and now that truck's backing up again.
Right.
So yeah, that's what I have. A lot of it, a lot of chapters written, and then I change how I'm doing something and how I want to grab people in the first chapter and so forth. And it's hard. It's a lot of information that I have to try to filter.
Yeah.
It goes into, like as I've told you, the limbic system, and really who's Mary Magdalene, and that relationship in our body and to ourselves, and the whole divine feminine, which is exactly what is happening right now, which is, as I've, shared with you, there really is a very real sacred marriage happening on this planet with that divine feminine, and the dark mass, the people only thinking about an evil feminine aspect, was the whole Madonna,
right.
part, just, obviously just a part of that little wormhole over there. But yeah, so that's hopefully by May, June, That way it'll get a good push with Saturn coming into my first house like that, and conjunct Jupiter and Neptune.
Oh, that'll be good. Do you have a publisher?
No.
Well,
I've talked to some people, and I'm not sure that they are the right people yet, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody's, like, completely dinging a bell for me.
Do you want a publisher, or do you want to self-publish?
I'm not sure, because from what I understand, when you have a publisher, some of them want you to pay up front a certain amount of money.
Well, that's not the right publisher then.
Okay.
You know. So, you know, we could talk about it offline,
Yeah.
but I might be able to help you out with that.
Awesome. Okay,
Yeah.
great.
Yeah.
I'll take it. I'll talk about it.
So, all right, let's say people want to know more about your work or your aromatherapy. Where can they go?
Arcancient.com. ARCANCIENT.
Arcancient.
When they gave me the name, they said Ark of the Ancients.
Uh-huh.
And I saw two angels standing, like they were tall enough to touch Mars and Neptune at the same time. So that's how tall these beings were.
Uh-huh.
And they folded back this curtain in the sky. And they told me that name, Ark of the Ancients. And it spilled through them parting the curtain in the sky. And I realized that what I do and what I believe in is ancient. It's just and it's holding the roots in that tree. To everything we need has already been there. Always has been in front of us. It's there. And so that's Ark of the Ancients, Arcancient.
I like it, Arcancient. It sounds good. Hey, real quick, did you know that there are 3 popes born today?
No.
I thought that was fascinating. I look at birthdays when I do the show. Well, I look at birthdays just about every day. There are 3 popes born today.
Is this the Ides of March?
The Ides of March is the 15th.
Oh, okay.
But I thought it was fascinating. Let's see. Today is we have Pope Pius XII, Pope Leo the 13th, and Pope Adrian the 6th. 3 popes. It's got to be a record day for popes.
That's pretty. My sister's birthday is today.
Oh, really?
We're supposed to have Petrus Romanus is supposed to be coming along as the last pope from the Malachi prophecies.
Oh, right. So do you think it's Peter Dolan? Do you think that's who that is?
No. Maybe. I didn't. Yeah, his name is Peter. Huh. Well, yeah. And that's what Nicki Minaj, of course, is doing that whole. It's Roman.
Right.
With the red cape, and that's what the Cardinals wear. That were just the 22 Cardinals that were whatever they call that.
They were just ordained.
Ordained, thank you.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And
22 Cardinals, right?
And I think that's what she is. She is presaging. That she's telling people that's Roman coming.
Yeah. She was also under Little Red Riding Hood programming, by the way. Oh.
Yeah, you're so familiar with all of that kind of stuff. That's that little programming thing is new for me for the past few years. You actually are the one that turned me on to that whole. I wouldn't have even believed in it, to be honest with you. You know, but now I can. Yeah.
There's a woman here in the Bay Area. Her name is Nadia Lockyer, and she is the wife of the state treasurer, John Lockyer, who's a lifelong California politician. You guys who in the chat room, you can look this woman up, Nadia Lockyer, Lockyer, and every pic. So she's his wife. He's 70. She's in her 30s.
Oh,
they have a kid together. Every picture I've seen of her, she's got the what they call in prison the 1,000-yard stare, and she's got the Harlequin grin. You know, the Stepford wife Harlequin grin. Her pictures are they're bizarre. She's attractive in a weird kind of way, but there's this whole scandal now around her. She's been in rehab twice. She's hooked up with this guy who's a meth. I mean, how I'm seeing this whole thing, and she was running for office too, by the way. In fact, I think she won. So she's got this whole political sort of vector that's going on, but what's really happening is that her programming is breaking down, and you can clearly see that with her. And this whole bout with alcohol, this whole bout with this guy, it's all just unraveling. And what's really interesting is I listen to the local media here, and conservatives, and conservatives can be really heartless pricks sometimes. I hate to say that, but they can be. Just like the left can be arrogant and elitist intellectuals.
Exactly.
On this talk show, they're trying to come up with names for Nadia Lockyer. Then they're calling her tramp, trollop. I mean, all this stuff, right? I mean, it's just, and they have no idea really what this woman is probably going through. And yet they are so quick to slap her with these labels because it's this the conservative right via the school of Rush Limbaugh get into this whole name calling etiquette. It's ugly.
Right.
But I'm just sharing this with you because if you want to look at somebody whose program is unraveling, Nadia Lockyer right here in the Bay Area right now, and most people don't understand it.
Well, I'm going to look into that, but I find that's some of those things that I find completely fascinating because it's so apparent. Is we see they even make the movie about the Stepford wives. Right.
Twice, by the way.
Right. And, then you have those people in there. I'm not going to mention names, but I can't go into that, about stories of these people. So, and yet here are people changing their facade purposely to have a certain look. And, Botox is botulism.
Yeah.
They're having injected into their body to all look a certain way, and then so much of this new age teaching is all about pretense, about constantly being like a Stepford person.
Yeah.
Always happy, always I love. Oh, it's all about the love. We'll just forgive them and there is a truth to that you and I both know you can find inside of you with a deep wisdom. But the superficiality of that is it could totally rack your mind when I hear and see people constantly use that syrupy lip service of, oh, that's okay, I'm just going to bless it and let it go. It's so apparent that they're making that the thing you don't want to do is to become an illusion, a false self, to be anything but what the truth that sets you free is.
Right.
And that's just getting real, for real. That really gives you that honesty, that sincerity, that's the only way. And a false earth, I do believe, is being fabricated. And people will go to it. People will get sucked into that false light, that a whole different thing with a Stepford look and a, blonde wig and, the whole the morphing that people are doing with, the word I'm looking for, the computer person.
Right.
Right? It's all this fake people.
Yeah.
Whoa. Anyway.
Yeah. Well, yeah. So we're witnessing somebody unraveling before our very eyes, and most people don't really understand why. Hey, based on your suggestion to me, one of your suggestions to me was to incorporate tarot into the show, and so I did. I listened to you.
Oh, awesome.
Well, that's why I changed the show, not because of you, but it made sense to me. So what I want to do here is I want to pull a card for you.
Oh, okay.
All right.
All right.
Do I have permission to do that?
You have my permission to do so.
Okay. And what do you want to look at?
I want to look at. I'll just look at how the year will blossom out and sharing information.
Okay.
Okay. So that's partially the book, partially teaching, I guess.
All right. So teaching, book.
Yeah.
Life work. Gloria.
Right.
Gloria. Feet on the ground. 2012. Here we go. Okay. I got the Lovers.
Ooh.
And the Lovers is an interesting card.
Mhm.
Because it doesn't always mean lover, right? It doesn't always mean that.
Yeah, it doesn't actually. I know what it means.
You know?
I know.
But
yeah.
It's a nice reconciliation of opposites.
Mhm.
It's a coming together, literally, of opposites.
Mhm.
And it can denote a choice as well. The Gemini energy is very strong in the Lovers card.
Mhm.
Here's my take on this.
Go ahead.
My take is that you are. I think you're going to come to a crossroads in 2012.
Mhm.
And the word that comes to mind for me is, and maybe it's a loaded term, temptation.
I believe that's true. Mhm.
I think the closer you come to finishing your book and really putting together the, because I was talking about legacy at the beginning of the show.
Ah, okay.
And to me, this book is a big part of your legacy.
Right.
The closer you get to that, I think this sense of temptation or the energy of temptation will begin to accrue and manifest in your life.
Right.
And that could be, and it could look really great. It may
Yep.
not be a very overt thing.
No.
It could be in the form of somebody coming into your life that may, look great and move you off your path.
Right.
Or somebody may offer you a job or a gig that looks really good, but again, can move you off your path.
Right.
So there's a piece here. And if we're looking at timing, it's not that far off. I mean, we're talking, May, June.
Right.
If we're in the Gemini zone, and I do use Tarot as timing, by the way. So May, June, this is when I think things come together for you, and you do come to a bit of a crossroads in terms of what you allow into your life.
If I make the right choice this time with it.
Yeah.
Well, it's funny because that's exactly the card that would come up. Being that I personally have come to this knowledge that this is my relationship, is my work. And there's no way they were letting me out this time without me getting it out. Okay. And that's Lilith in my 7th house. Okay. That is my partner. She will not allow me to have a relationship until I birth this information and get it out there. And there does always come in my life, every time I get to that place, I have not chosen wisely. Let's put it that way.
Interesting.
I choose a bad, whether it was my ex-husband or whatever, the guy I just told you about when I was in Oregon and all that kind of stuff. So I just really choose not to, and I'm not unhappy about it. I choose to, it's made me generate what's in me in that 12th house, and go in there with my little torch, and I do that when I work on people. I guide people through and into that underworld and guide them back or find them in there. And and I believe that it's for me to, and that's why I have the interception in the fourth house with Aquarius and Leo, and my Leo moon and all of that conjunct my midheaven.
Right.
So that's that's excellent what you pulled. Right on, Robert.
Well, good. You know, it seems like the closer we get to our destination, the kind of the riskier it gets, you know, in the final few miles, you know, so to speak. So, well, good. Well, listen, I'm thrilled that you were able to come on here.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Spontaneously like this, and
Thank you.
sharing your wisdom and your experience. And when you get your book printed up, we'll talk about it offline. We get your book printed
up. Yeah, we will. Okay, thanks so much, sweetie. Got all the best and good luck for a great ship off. Bon voyage.
Thank you,
Flo. Your new venture, babe.
I appreciate it.
Okay, bye-bye. Bye, all.
All right, that was Gloria Savage, our friend, just jumping in from the chat room. Arc-Ancient, her site, aromatherapy, Gloria Savage, with the magic of the internet, help you out to find her, avail yourself of her expertise in the realm of aromatherapy and essential oils. She helped me out. She sent me a couple of her rollers, very powerful, very distilled rollers that they were really helpful when I had that serious cough. I was using them and taking them into a sauna and letting the heat just, you know, take all the tea tree oil and all these really potent oils she had in these things right up into my lungs. Extremely helpful. So go check her out. Okay, it's 11:30 here in sunny but cool and crisp California. I've got about 28 minutes left in the show, and I'm going to open the lines. And if you want me to do a tarot reading, you want me to do an astrological reading, you want to talk, you want to say hello, you want to say I'm full of shit, whatever you want to do, the lines are open. 347-308-8995, 347-308-8995, and we can get into a little divination here in the last half hour of the show. I'd be happy to open the door, so to speak. Some other birthdays today. Let's see, the lovely, talented, tortured, talk about mind control, Karen Carpenter. Today's Karen Carpenter's birthday. I don't know if you have seen the Karen Carpenter story. Tragic stuff, man. This is her brother, not a cool dude. Not a cool dude at all. He, in fact, seemed very much like her handler. Some good writers born today. John Irving, who wrote the Hotel New Hampshire, and The World According to Garp, right? World According to Garp. Great book. Extremely good book. John Irving, his birthday today. Kurt Weill, author of the Threepenny Opera. Actually, the composer of the Threepenny Opera. Bertolt Brecht was the author. So Kurt Weill wrote Mac the Knife from Threepenny Opera, which Bobby Darin made famous. Today is also the birthday of Tom Wolfe. And Tom Wolfe is the author of The Electric Kool-Aid Acid Test, amongst other great American works. His birthday is today. Speaking of Wolfe, I hung out with David Avocado Wolfe the other night. Some of you might know who David Wolfe is. He's an author and a speaker. And he was in town. Apparently, he lives not very far from me. He lives over the bridge from me. I didn't know that. But he's on North Atlantic Books. And my good friend Richard Grossinger sent me a text on Wednesday. He wanted me to meet David and hang out with David at Cafe Gratitude in Berkeley. So I hung out with good guy, nice guy. and he was open. He was open. So maybe he's agreed to be on the show. So sometime in April, on a Sunday night, he might even come over and sit next to me and do this live with me. We'll have David Allen Wolf on. We'll talk about health. We'll talk about what you can do with your health and stuff like that. So we'll have him on. 347-308-8995. If you want to get into a little astrology, a little tarot, we can do that. John Bon Jovi. It's John Bon Jovi's birthday today. How about that? So those are some of the big birthdays. Bob Mackie, the famous designer. Bob Mackie was big, really big. Speaking of designers, going back to the whole Botox thing, Donatella Versace, man, the face. Ever seen that face lately? Wow. Anyway, Daft Ada, who hangs out in the chat room sometimes, sent me this video. It's just, you can find it on YouTube. It's a commercial of Versace fashions, and it's a woman, a model, who essentially lives in a dollhouse, and it's like they crammed every single Illuminati altar trigger in this video commercial that you can pretty much think of. You want to get into symbolism. If somebody in the chat room can find that, it's very instructive. Just go on YouTube, Donna Versace, Illuminati commercial, right, on YouTube. Trust me, you'll find it. Creepy stuff. Really creepy. Anyway, is that what Botox does to you? Does it turn you into a zombie? An Illuminati-controlled zombie? It's just a question. That's all. I'm not coming to any conclusions. There's Tristan.Bishop2. Just came on. Let's talk to Tristan. Hello, Tristan.
Hello, how are you?
I'm good. How are you doing?
I'm fine, thank you.
Thanks for calling into the show. Where are you calling from?
Florida.
Florida. What would you like to get into today?
Just what you see as far as my love life, what's coming.
Okay. Let's tell you what, let's do a little of this here. Why don't you give me your birthday?
9/12.
And is there a year that goes along with that?
I'm sorry, 1964.
9/12/64 or 9/2/64?
1964.
Okay, great. All right, so let's go, let's see, September 12th, 1964, the year of the dragon.
Yep.
Love life. Okay, so looks like you've got Moon and Sagittarius in your chart. Mercury direct, good. Virgo, Venus, Leo. Okay. So here's what's happening right now. All right, Uranus is trining your natal Venus. Uranus is in Aries, and so Venus is the planet of relationship. And you have it in the sign of Leo, fire sign. So you have Uranus, fire in Aries, Venus, fire, Leo, and they are right now at a 1 degree trine of one another. So when essentially what that means is that your love life is about to have an infusion of passion and energy. Now, Uranus, when you start a relationship with the Uranus trine on Venus, it can be really exciting, and it can be with a square of Uranus and Venus. You can start a relationship, but the relationship may not necessarily last. But with the Uranus-Venus trine, the potential of that relationship not only bringing a spark of passion and newness into your life, it also has a much longer flame. You know, so one would be The square would be a match, a spark, could go out. But a trine would be, again, a much more extended and elongated flame, like a flame that can burn for a long time. So the potential for a relationship in your life now, whether it's an existing one that could have a new breath of life or breath of fresh air coming into it and then stimulating the flame, or an actual new relationship, quite frankly, hasn't been better for quite a long time. And because you have Moon in Sagittarius, again, looks like early degree, that Uranus trine is going to funnel into the Moon as well. So we're talking about an emotional renaissance for you. Venus is about relationships. Moon is about emotion. And here we have Uranus in a harmonious and synchronistic relationship with both those planets. So that's all good. You got to like that. That's really, really positive. And for you on an emotional level with Moon in Sagittarius, you have to be honest with your relationships. Are you there?
Yes.
Yeah. You have to be honest with your relationships. You have to be honest with yourself. You can't just have a relationship for the sake of having a relationship. That's not going to work for you. It's just not. And you have to have people in your life that are also very honest. You can't have people that are hiding out emotionally. And the good thing is, or the good news is that Uranus right now will support that. So be open. That's my advice to you, is to be open and allow this spark to come into your life, because it's there, it's real, it's happening. And you have Jupiter in Taurus in your chart at 26 degrees, which is also real. It's cool, you know. I mean, you've got a Jupiter return coming up in June. Actually, it's going to be before June. It's end of May, early June. So you're going to have Jupiter return, which is fantastic. So whether it's relationships or whether it's just being grounded and more solid and whole in your life, I think this year bodes well for you on those fronts, to be honest with you. Yeah.
Okay. I'm still a little bit confused as far as how soon do you see someone coming?
How soon is now?
So you say now.
Yeah. Right now.
Okay.
Yeah, because Uranus is 1 degree off your Venus. I mean, that's almost exact. And Uranus is going to be dancing around your natal Venus for most of the year, but it's right there right now. So, you know, be open. I mean, first of all, what you have to do is you have to get rid of the fact that you're going to be playing out an old script in relationships. Okay? Because here's my intuitive sense. When I hear you talk, and when I kind of tune into you, I get a sense of being tired, and a sense of being let down, and weariness. And what I'm here to share with you is that you have the opportunity for something brand new to come into your life because of the trine to Venus and the trine to your Moon. And I don't know what kind of inner work you've done to get to this point, but one of the things that you need to be cognizant and aware of is that you don't want to bring your old programming into the potential of having somebody new come into your life. So part of having a Sagittarian Moon is Sagittarius can be jaded, because Sagittarius can see the truth. So if you bring in a sense of jaded emotionality or jaded emotions into the potential possibility of having a relationship in your life, it's going to dampen that a little bit. But yet at the same time, you want to use some discretion, you want to use some discernment. We all need that for relationships. But you don't want that to be the predominant factor right now. You want to be open, and you want to be enthusiastic. So my advice to you would be to have a sense of expectancy, which is different than expectation. So as you go into this weekend, be ready. Have a sense of being ready, and feel what that's like to feel ready, to be ready. You know, and what if I said to you, what if what I'm saying to you right now is absolutely 100% true, okay? And that tomorrow you would meet somebody that would just be off the charts fantastic and matching and meeting every single benchmark and criterion of who you want in a partner. Maybe that's true. And why not? Why couldn't that be true? So what I would ask you to do is to get up in the morning with a sense of that happening. What does that feel like? What would it feel like to meet that person, to sit right across from them, look eye to eye into that person's eyes, and to see yourself, and not just any version of yourself, not the self that's been defeated, not the self that's had a shitty relationship, not that self, but the secret self, the self that comes alive when it's recognized and met. What if you had that opportunity, and you live with that sense, that because you are that person, and when you live from that place of being that person, well, guess what? Other people want to be around that. They want. It's like a flame. We're coming back to this whole concept of the flame and the symbol of the flame. Allow your flame to burn. Allow your flame to come out. Allow it to warm the people around you and the world around you, so that you can attract the relationship that you really desire. And with Uranus right now in the sky, theoretically trining Venus and trining the moon, that time has never been better. So get up in the morning with the sense that today's the day. And if it's not the day, then the next day's the day, and the next day's the day, and the next day's the day. And you know what? Eventually that day's going to get there. You know why? Because you're living with that sense of expectancy, and you're allowing the enthusiasm, the passion, and the possibility to be the motivating factor in your life. And it's not about meeting that person. It's about meeting that person that reflects who you are at your deepest potential. That's what it's about. So you want to live with that. And that's right now.
Okay, well, thank you very much. I appreciate the insight.
Okay, thanks for calling in. All right, so there we go. It's a little forceful there, wasn't I? But that's true, though, right? I mean, it's right now. And here's where we dovetail with the symbolism. Thank you for calling in, Tristan, by the way. This is where we dovetail with the symbolism of what's happening in her chart with what's possible, and being able to live with that sense of expectancy. I've got 13 minutes left in the show. The phone number is 347-308-8995, 347-308-8995 if you want to call in. And I didn't pull any tarot cards for her. I should have, though. And I won't do it unless I get permission. 347-308-8995. I've got a few minutes left, probably about time for one more little mini reading, and then it's off into the weekend. And 3312. Yeah, we're coming up, by the way, on the dark year anniversary of Fukushima. That's 9 days out. Heavy time. And Fukushima is melting, by the way. I don't know if you know that. It's melting. And Fukushima is melting relationships, melting professional relationships. It's interesting. The fallout, we talk about the fallout of Fukushima, right? Cesium, thorium, all that stuff, the heavy metals, the gamma rays. Well, some of the fallout of Fukushima is interpersonal. Living Light Network on the air. Let's see who it is. Hello there.
Hey, Robert. It's Michael Edward.
Blast from the past. Hi, Michael.
Hey. Wow, a lot of things happen in just 6 months,
Oh, man. Tell me about it.
Yeah.
Cycles, man. Hurricane.
Yeah, it's just, I guess, to keep us so that we don't get bored. So that's a wonderful part about living in this world. It has constant cycles that come and go.
Absolutely. And I think if we're open and respectful and humble, we can learn a lot from them.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. You have a choice. Everybody has a choice. You got to look at it that, okay, the world says this is a terrible situation. Oh, my, what am I going to do? Or you can look at exactly that same thing. The world says this is a terrible situation, and you need to really look at it like, I'm going to make something out of this. And see, that is life. It's all on our attitude, how we're going to look at things.
Michael, you sound so good, and I've really missed you.
I missed you, too. That's why I had to call in. I'm like, Robert's been off on that other side of the country all this time, and I haven't spoken with him. So you said, hey, there's 10 minutes left. Anybody wants to call? So here I am.
Well, it's so good to hear you. How are you doing?
Good. We're still fighting with things about the golf. I pretty much haven't done any of the radio broadcasts with that since last June. Actually, I did one in August about the golf, and I'm reviving it all on Blog Talk Radio starting this Sunday. So time to bring it up. And there was something that you said when I was on your show. Oh gosh, 9 months ago, a year ago, Robert. It was you had said that everything that I was doing was pretty much cutting edge, and nobody was talking about synthetic biology and the golf and putting the two together and all that. And you came out with a statement that kind of was profound and something that has been staying with me and is now coming about. And what that statement you made was sooner or later, they're going to turn around and say, Michael was right. He nailed it. And that's exactly what's happening now.
Wow. So, okay, what time is your show again? And it's on here on Blog Talk. What time is it?
It's at 7 Eastern Time on Blog Talk, and that's Living Light Network on Blog Talk.
Okay, 7 Eastern Time. Okay, so Michael, just give people a taste as to we don't have a lot of time, but give people a taste about what I meant that you were right all along. What are you coming up with now? By the way, this is a good friend of the show, Michael Edward, who did just heroic work on the Gulf of Mexico with BP and was so far ahead of the curve with synthetic biology and the reformation of the Gulf and the ecosystem and human biology around this stuff that it was almost science fiction. And so what's happening now, real briefly, in terms of it validating your work?
Right now, and of course, the news of the Gulf is pretty much all about the lawsuit, and that's just the smokescreen again. What really is going on, and you can go on Facebook, you can go on even on different sites, and you'll see people like me living along the Gulf who are posting pictures. In fact, I just looked at another one about an hour ago of all sorts of baby dolphins just, ended up on the beach where they've got gigantic holes in them where they've rotted out. They're ulcerated. One of them had absolutely no eyes. The weird stuff, the weird science fiction is still going on. And something that I've been looking deeper into, of course, I'm the one who came out and said, hey, synthetic biology has been used here. Then BP's own spokesperson said a new form of microbiology, which is the same thing.
Right.
But here's where it went to, Robert. I hit a crossroad where I just couldn't seem to go any further to find out exactly what. And then all of a sudden, some bits and pieces started to come in. And in the past 2 months, I've looked into the nanotechnology, and I've spoken and even been on other shows with scientists, nanotechnology scientists, and boom, that's exactly what the Gulf of Mexico is all about. It was a synthetic nanomaterial biological experiment.
Oh my God.
Because we have things like blue markers, where people have seen blue water, blue jellyfish. It sounds bizarre, doesn't it? But
no, not really. No, it doesn't sound bizarre. And to me, it brings up the specter of chemtrails and Morgellons.
It's right in the same thing. There's absolutely no difference. Yeah. Right? Whether it was sprayed over the Gulf of Mexico or sprayed over where you're at in Northern California, it's all interconnected. But with the Gulf of Mexico, it was a slightly different deal, and they're still spraying, by the way. BP owns most of an island called Cat Island, and that's their center of spraying operations. Things haven't changed. It's just that the news, it's like that's old news, and they're not going to report about the Gulf anymore.
It's just so brief now.
Well, this nanotechnology that's involved with it, again, there are some ways to be able to tell it, and one of the ways that we figured out was blue. There was actually blue with the water, like a phosphorescent blue.
Right.
And so I started to dig into, in the past few months, like, okay, how could that happen? Well, then I started reading articles on nanomarkers, and blue is a very common nanomarker. Along with a beigey brown is another one. That's how it seems to come out. And these are certain companies put these markers in there. So this has been the wildest experiment that the government has ever done, and of course it's sanctioned by federal government. The military is involved. I've had shows in the past saying exactly how they did it and what laws allow them to do it. It's not a secret.
Wow.
So yeah, it was time to bring it back, Robert, and that's something that you had encouraged me over a year ago. That yeah, you might get worn out, and you told me that there'd be a time when it would revive, and brother, we're there.
Well, let me just say I'm absolutely thrilled that you've circled back around and reconnected with me, and you sound great, and you needed that time off, man.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
it was burnout.
Well, I mean, it was sort of like during that time, it was like you had an iron rod in your hand in a lightning storm, and you were.
And I put everything into it. You knew that. I mean, we were on each other's shows quite a few times. I put everything into where I was coming out with revelation articles and shows every week, and it just got to the point that Lynn and I were talking, and I said, you know what? It's already out there. I've put it there. Yeah. The only thing that can happen now is people who are supposed to read it and listen to it will.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, Michael, we'll have you back on somewhere down the line, and we'll manage to give people who don't listen to your show, and if you want to, again, it's Sunday night on Blog Talk, 7:00 Eastern. But we'll have you back on if you want to one of these days, and we'll cover some ground again.
You got it. You got it. Without a doubt, we'll do some reciprocating shows. Okay,
I'm totally into it. All right. So thanks for calling in, Michael. I got about 3 minutes left, so I'm going to wind down. And congratulations on getting your energy back, and good luck on your next chapter here.
Absolutely. Thanks, Robert. Thanks for being a good friend. You've always been there, buddy.
Okay. Take good care, Michael. See you soon.
Uh-huh.
All right. God bless. That's our good friend, Michael Edward. God, awesome. Fantastic first show today. I want to thank Gloria for spending some time with me. It was been a while since I had her on the show, and I really want to thank Michael for reaching out and reconnecting. He's a good dude. So, yeah, I'm thrilled, man. All right, I'll be back on Sunday night after Michael, and I don't know who I'm going to have on Sunday night. What I might do is I might play an interview I did with David Sylvian a few years back, the singer from Japan, the group Japan. Okay, I'm gonna get out of here. I'm out of here. Use your head to discern what's real, your heart to open, and what's possible. Here's my new open, by the way. It's one of my tracks. And I'll see you guys on Sunday night. Have a great weekend.
In the name I am that I am, Sanat Kumara, I call forth the light of the living word, beloved Elohim, beloved Archangel, beloved mighty Choans of the rays and the lords of Karma. I call for the action of beloved Pallas Athena, beloved goddess of liberty, beloved Nada, beloved Kuan Yin, beloved Portia, beloved great divine director, beloved all-seeing eye of God, Cyclopeia. Let God's will be done, let God's will be done, let God's will be done. I demand the action of the sacred fire in this hour. Descend on mighty cosmos, secret rays. I am the holding of the balance of Lord Gautama Buddha, beloved Sanat Kumara and the seven holy Kumaras. I call upon the sacred fire, I call upon the light of God that never fails. Beloved mighty, I am present, come forth in this hour of the victory. Come forth in this hour of the victory of the God slain. I demand the full power, beloved mighty